हाँ कंप्यूटर आईटी। हाँ म्यूट करो।
Hello, Sana ma'am.
Yeah. Hello, Manoj sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly take your mic closer to your mouth. Mic, your mic. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah,
Is it better now?
yeah, ma'am. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, ma'am. You may begin. You may start off.
Okay. Hello everyone. Let's see who all are here. Shagato, Palak,
Yeah, ma'am. Almost
Prabhakar.
everyone is here.
Yeah, let me just familiarize myself with their names at least. Otherwise, it will just feel like talking to myself, which is
Ma'am, they can,
not a
ma'am,
very good.
ma'am, they can reply in the chat, so you will be able to see the chat screen also. So we have muted the videos of muted everyone, so that the session can go on smoothly. So they can reply in the chat, so you can see the group chat. Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can see it.
you
Okay.
may continue.
You all can, I have proof. You all can see me. You all are saying hi, hello, good afternoon. So, good afternoon, everyone. Bear with me. This is my first online classes with you all. So, I will take some time to get used to it, get the hang of it. But then it's 2020 and we are getting hang of a lot of other things. First thing first, I hope you all are safe. You all are keeping safe. Your family members are keeping safe and you all are following the protocol of social distancing to the T. And that's about it. As far as greetings are concerned, let's get to what we are here to do. That is CLAT 2020. Um Not only this year has brought new types of diseases and viruses in this world, but it has also brought a new format for our examination, which was earlier quite different. I'm hoping that you all are aware that the format has changed quite a bit, not only for English, but also for the rest, for the entire test. Um, it would be good if you all could reply a little that you all are aware of the new format so that I will continue. Okay, yeah, good. Uh, I'm still getting hang of it. It's a little yeah. Anyway, let's start by discussing the old pattern and the new pattern. So I'm going to share the screen with you all. I have made a PPT regarding the class that we're going to do, and I'm going to share a screen with you. At any point of time, if you think that I'm going too fast, you can ask me to slow down, or if you want me to repeat something, you can also ask me to do that. We can discuss any point 100 times, 101 time, but make sure that you understand the basics of the concept. Why I'm saying is because if you are aware of the new pattern, you will also see that not only English has changed, but also current affairs and other portions have also changed quite a bit. And it has become more of a reading component kind of a test where a lot of reading component is there. So your reading skills need to be very good. And today we are going to basically discuss reading skills and how to ace that. And as and when we move on to our future classes, we will be discussing other areas as well. But today we are going to focus mostly on reading skills and the changes that have taken place and how to tackle with that. First and foremost, I would like to say that try not to panic. I know the times we are living in weird times right now, honestly. um, a few, please put your earphones to hear ma'am better. Okay, someone is in. Okay, fine. Y'all can hear me, I'm assuming. So I'm going to keep my voice at the same this thing. Otherwise, it is going to get very pitchy. Um, yeah. So as I was saying, that we are living in very weird times. We have to deal with it. Panicking is not going to help you. So don't panic. There are pros to the new pattern. There are cons to the new pattern. But if you take my word for it, I feel that pros are much more than the cons. Okay. So I'm going to share the screen. Uh, just bear with me for a minute, and I think you all will be able to see the screen that putting it on slide mode. Yeah, can you all see this? Okay, how do I see the chat? Anyway, I hope you all can see this. So this is the current pattern that we are dealing with. What happened? Yeah, this is the current pattern that spice can shining is. Yeah. Uh, yes, I can see your chats also, and I can see. Can you all see this? So I'm going to continue. As you can see, the new pattern is this. You're going to get 150 questions. Earlier, the format was that there used to be 200 questions and the timing was 2 hours, but the authorities thought that 150 questions are going to be 200 questions in 2 hours are a little unfair on the students, because it does not allow you to finish the paper, and if you're not able to finish the paper, you're not able to give your best. Hence they have changed the format. Now there is going to be 150 questions within 2 hours, and it will, in the marking is the same, 150 marks, and 1 mark for the correct answer, 0.25 for incorrect. As you can see, the basic premise of today's class is this section, which is English language section. Earlier, there used to be around 40 questions, but now they have changed it. They have changed it to 28 to 32%, but somehow the percentage of the paper has still remained. It's still the 20% of the paper. Earlier, it was 40 questions, but still it was about 20% of the paper. But now also the percentage has remained the same, whereas the questions have changed a little bit. Uh, I'm just going to show you the English format. Mm, uh, just give me a minute if I can see your chats. Uh, just one question I have. Would it be easier for you all to, if to see if I keep it on a slide mode, or if you see individual slides like this, or you want it to be on a slide mode? Because I'm finding it slight bit difficult to read your chats while putting it on slide mode. You want it on a slide mode? Okay. Okay. So let me put it on a slide mode, and then I'm trying to see if I can also see the chat at the same time, if that option is there. Mm, where is the chat? Mm, anyway, I'll have to come to chat section once in a while to see if you all have any questions. Let's put it back on the slide mode, which will be easier for you, as you said. Yes. Now, what exactly do they mean when they are saying that it is going to be 28 to 32 questions and the pattern has changed? Earlier, if any of you have given CLAT before this, or you have practiced with the older paper, you will be aware of it by now, that the earlier format had different types of questions from English. So it had comprehension, it had grammar correction, it had vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, one word substitutes, verbal analogy. There were a lot of questions that were there. Now it is not there so much. As you can see, this has been taken from the site, which says that there will be passages. And what do we mean by the passages? So they have given an explanation of that as well. Each passage will be followed by a series of questions that will require you to demonstrate your comprehension and language skills, including your abilities too. Okay, so before going to the abilities part, let's focus on what it says here. Demonstrate your comprehension and language skills. Now, very smartly, the authorities have changed the entire format into comprehension, but they are still going to test your language and comprehension skills, which basically means that it is going to eventually test all of the things that it used to test, but in a more refined manner, and in a manner where rote learning is not promoted that much. Let's face it, if antonyms and synonyms are continuously asked, it basically promotes ratifying it, rote learning. They don't want you to do that anymore. What they are asking you to do is incorporate all that in your comprehension skills. Basically, you will be tested on what, as you can see over here, what abilities basically they are testing. Read and comprehend the main point discussed in the passage, as well as arguments and viewpoints discussed or set out in the passage. So what it requires you to do over here, it requires you to basically understand the passage and what the passage is trying to convey, the bigger ideas, the smaller ideas, and the scope of the passage. We will discuss what scope basically means in the later part. Okay, as well as arguments and viewpoints. As we understand, any passages basically a group of a number of arguments for and against a point. Or if it is a no, fiction, then again it will have an argument and it will continue. Depending on the type of passage you have, there will be different types of arguments and viewpoints which you have to understand and you have to comprehend. Okay. Other than that, what they expect you to do is draw inferences and conclusions based on the passages. Now, inferences and conclusion is a very vague uh, concept. It's not something which is directly stated in any passage. Inferences are something that you infer as a student, what you were able to understand from the passage, and conclusion is basically what the author is trying to conclude, how the author is trying to finish the particular passage, on what point. Both of these are never directly stated in a passage. Both of these are something that you have to understand and you have to grasp on your own. Okay. Then summarize the passage. Summarize the passage, as the word says over here, it's basically a summary. If I give you a passage of 450 words, how can you summarize it in, say, a sentence? Basically covering the main points and the scope of the particular passage. Compare and contrast the different arguments or viewpoints set out in the passage. Very self-explanatory over here, that if there are arguments and counter arguments, so you have to compare and contrast between the ideas, where the ideas are similar, where the ideas are contradictory or contrasting, and understand the meaning of various words. This is particularly very important, because after the new format was introduced, I am assuming many students must have thought that now we don't have to rectify antonyms and synonyms, which is actually true. You don't have to do rote learning of words anymore. However, you will have to read words, you will have to know your words, you will have to know the usage of the word. So more than the meaning, the focus over here is the meaning in context of the passage. The type of question that comes from here is what we call in our professional term is word in context. Okay, so a particular word will be given which will be in the passage, incorporated in the passage, and you will be asked to give the meaning of the passage vis-a-vis, give the meaning of the word vis-a-vis the passage. A word, I'm assuming you all are aware of, has multiple meaning. For example, if I say the word smart, okay, uh, what is the meaning of the word smart? Multiple meanings are there. Smart can mean intelligent, smart can mean in terms of looks, smart can mean in terms of your attitude. At times you also call people over smart. We often say that he's way too smart for his own good. So are we meaning, when I say he is way too smart for his own good, do I mean in a positive sense here? I do not think so. I mean over here that he's way too sassy for his own good. So here the meaning of smart is sassy. That is what word in context basically means. That the meaning of the words change according to the context, and you need to be able to understand the usage of the word more than just ratifying the meaning. Okay. Now let's move on. They have said, they have given in the official side that the reading comprehension passages will be for 450 words each. Okay, but they have not specified if they will all be 450 words, or 450 words is the minimum word, or 450 words is the, I'm assuming 450 is it will be maximum, it is not minimum. But again, they have not given any particular number to how many passages will be there. So you never know if the passages will be 450 exactly all of them, or some can be even lesser than that, depending on the format that the authorities build. Now, significant fiction and non-fiction. They have said that the passages can be both from fiction as well as non-fiction. Just one thing I would like to say, given that this is my first online class and I'm having a little difficulty seeing the chat along with the slide. So what I'll do after every slide, I will go back to the chat to see if there are any questions. Okay, so if from any particular side you have slide you have any question, you put it in the chat box. Once the slide is over, I will move on to the chat. I will answer your question and I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, it will be a little tedious, but bear with me for this one class. Then I guess have to take another class of my own for understanding this. Anyway, so coming back to the slide, as it says that it can be both from fiction and non-fiction. So the ones who only read newspapers because they find reading novel or anything else a little boring, they will have a tough time. Also, the ones who only read novels and who do not like reading newspapers and editorials will also have a tough time, because the passages can be both fiction as well as non-fiction. Okay, now they have given a stipulated time that ideally a student should be able to should spend 5 to 7 minutes per passage. So they are including not only the reading passage time, but they are also the reading the passage time, but they are also including reading the question and answering the question. So per passage you ideally should be taking 5 to 7, depending on the length and depending on the number of questions from that particular passage. And what kind of questions will be there? So they have given the usual reading comprehension questions. So again, they have not really specified the type of questions there can be. So what we are going to do in the class is that we are going to cover all kinds of possible questions that can come from a reading comprehension, and we will tackle it as and when newer format, if we are aware, if the authorities release a few other samples or they are going to release a few hints more for us, we are going to deal with them. Okay, so I am going out of the slide to read if there are any chats. Okay, okay. Yes, you will. Okay, what is this? Can we get the PPT via mail? Anything you're comfortable with? Individual slides, slide mode. Okay. Hello, Mrs. Loknath. Can you hear? Can't hear you. Acha. Shogoto, can you hear me now? I don't know if it's a Shogoto as in guy Shogoto or um, Shogota as in girl. So can you hear me now? Okay. Uh, okay. Yes, ma'am. Can we get the PPT via mail? See, I can send you the PPT, but it will not be in PPT format. I will be sending in PDF format. And if you really needed that this thing, then you can do one thing, is that you can simply take a screenshot also of the slides. If you feel that certain slides you do not need, or there are certain slides that you need, you can certainly take a screenshot, and we will be sending the PDF as well, provided that you do not share it outside the class. Okay, that is very, very important, that try not to share it with people who are not part of the class, because otherwise it's a type of an intellectual property. I'm assuming you all want to become lawyers, so you all are aware of it. So till here the slide is clear. Should we move on? Hmm. Yeah, okay, let's move on. I'm assuming it's clear from here, so let's move on. Yeah. um yeah. uh oh, I've found the way to chat as well as do the slide on my own. Yay for me. Anyway, as you can see over here, how many questions per passage will be there? We genuinely do not know. It's not given to us. It can be, if I'm assuming you all are doing probability, permutation, combination, and probability, and also the probability can be that there can be passages, 5 questions, 5 passages, 6 questions, 4 passages, 8 questions, or 3 passages, 10 questions. We have absolutely no idea what the format will be. However, they have given us a sample which towards the end of the class we are going to do. Okay. Uh, Given I can see the chat and there are no questions, I'm going to move on from here. Now, before we move on to the actual part of reading comprehension and how to deal with it and the kind of passage they can be and the details of it, I would like to take 5 minutes off and discuss with you the importance of reading skills in general. uh, See, you all are in school, either in school or you have passed out from school. You will be aware of the fact that our education system is um, mostly rote learning leaning. It leans more towards rote learning, where instead of concepts being taught to us in detail and in a way that it is understandable to us, it is mostly that ratify the okay, what is happening on the screen? Is it me? No, I'm not doing it. Anyway, so it's so rote learning based that we mostly focus on the definitions of things. We mostly focus on the meaning of certain things, and reading it in the books and then vomiting it on the on the answer sheet when we are giving examination. But there has been a paradigm shift in, at least as far as the competitive examinations are concerned. The competitive examinations that are being taken place now in today's time is they are trying to be at par with um, who is doing that, who is doing this red circling on the screen, because I am not. Am I doing it? Acha, it's a technical error. Okay, fine. uh, anyway, so the competitive examination, in spite of the fact that the school learning is not more toward analytical part of it, but still they are focusing more on keeping it at par with international standards. So I had gone through the sample that they have given, and I will be providing that sample to you all also, so that you can also get an idea of not only English but also current affairs and legal section and the other section as well. You will see, I saw very stark resemblance to a particular examination called SATs, standardized aptitude test, which is taken in order to study abroad. And it is in general in US, it is a common test. You have to take it and then you move on to college. Otherwise, you are not, you don't get admission in any particular college if you do not take SAT examination. Because there also, they do not ask you word meaning questions. They do not ask you verbal analogy questions. The focus is not so much on rote learning, that okay, you they have this list, you ratify it, and then a question will come from that particular list. They are focusing more on analysis. They are focusing more and more on the students' capacity to be able to read a particular passage, to be able to read a particular content and use his or her own brains. Okay, they are not going to, at any point of time now, from now on, they're not going to accept anyone who is good at just rote learning. So any one of you from here who uh, thinks that ratifying will help you, take it from me, take it from other counselors, you ask anybody, it is not going to help you. And also, along with hard work, I cannot stress enough, smart work is very, very important. Okay, because not only it will help you in your English, it will help you in your legal or your current affairs and your CLAT exam in general, but it is going to help you from now onwards, because the patterns are changing, the world is changing. We have a virus called coronavirus and the entire world is shut down. Things are not going to remain the same. People would want more and more smarter people rather than just hardworking people. That's why the examination patterns are also changing. So you too have to, along with the times, you too have to adapt, you too have to change, and you too have to make sure that you are giving your 200%. The format of the examination they have done in a way that the teacher can help you, the teacher can only guide you, the teacher cannot spoon feed you. Till the earlier examination, the format was like that. Now it is not there anymore. So I would suggest reading as much as possible, and only reading will help you. Yes, math is something you have to practice, but for current affairs, for your legal, for your English, it's only reading, reading, and reading that will help you. Earlier, when I used to take classes, many of the students did not like comprehension so much because they found it tedious. They found it boring. They found that it takes a lot of time. Guess what? The rest is not there anymore. If you're good at grammar, if you're good at ratifying, if you're good at anything else, it's not going to help you. You have to read, because reading is what is going to take you ahead. Now, what kind of things you need to read? I would like to take 5 minutes on that. Make sure that you don't only read newspaper, you also read a little bit of fiction. And by fiction, I currently mean that you do not read much of British writer or American writer or foreign writers. Stick a little to more and more Indian writers, because from the passage that I saw in the sample, they were both from Indian writers. And the contemporary, to be more precise, contemporary Indian writers. Okay, so that is in terms of fiction. I would suggest things like read a little bit of R.K. Narayan, read a little bit of Mulk Rajanand, or read a little bit of Amitava Ghosh, or read a little bit of you have these small stories posted by different authors in different newspapers. Okay, not only the editorial parts, the parts where they put up their life stories or their incidents, which are more like storytelling. So read a little bit of those. Also read the Hindu. What I would do, Palak, is that I will make a list of all the Indian writers, and maybe a few interesting writers also, because not that Indian writers are not interesting. Uh, I would also try to put a little bit of cheat code for you, so that you, if you don't feel like reading like such serious books, you also read a little bit of those interesting ones. So I'll make a list of that. I will give it to you. I will also give it to you, ideally, the name of all the uh, journals that you can read from, because it will certainly help you a lot for your current affairs. It will certainly help you a lot in terms of your reading comprehensive skills. But one very important thing is, no matter what you read, even if you have taken a thonga in which you're having a mudi and you're reading something in it, because thongas are made of newspaper only, even if you're reading that, think of it as a particular reading passage, and ask yourself questions while reading that, that if I'm asked this particular question from this topic, will I be able to answer it or not? We will come to that a little later, what I mean by active reading. What I am trying to ask you all to do is active reading and not passive reading. Passive reading is good when you don't have any examinations coming up. Active reading is very important, where you ask yourself questions, that how does it relate to what I have read earlier, or what I know, or what can be implications of what I just read. Okay, we will deal with that in detail. Any question from what I just said? Any question that you would like to ask? I'm assuming no questions. So let's move on. Now, what I said earlier was pros and cons of the examination. The pros, I feel, are much more than the cons. What are the pros? One is, this is the first time that you all are going to give this examination. Okay, and the pattern is new. So they are not going to make it, I'm assuming, they're not going to make it super tough. Okay. Second, there's a lot of reading component, and the timing is adjusted according to that. So they are not going to it's never going to be a situation where you will not be able to finish the entire paper, which was the case in the earlier format. No matter how much the student tried, it was not possible to finish 200 questions in 2 hours times. It was not possible. And it sort of promoted a sort of a psyche in students, that okay, this section I will leave out because I know I will not be able to do it. Now it's not there anymore. Okay, it is very analysis based. So I'm assuming most of you all are not rote learning kida. So you will be able to analyze, and you will be able to do much better. And we keep on complaining how many competitive examinations are such that many students who might not be that good analytically, might not be that smart, or might not be that logical, but just because it is so rote learning, it's so leaning towards rote learning, that they pass. But this will not happen this time. Okay, that's, I think, the fourth one. Yeah, that the ones who are analytical in their approach, they will be able to score very well. The fifth one will be that the number of a lot of things which have nothing to do with you in which will not help you in your later life. For example, fine, I know a lot of words, I know 5,000 words, but I'm never going to use those 5,000 words. So why am I being asked to read that? Why am I being asked to read a list from A to Z like a dictionary? It's not there anymore. So you can see there are at least 5 pros that I can tell you in the new format. Yes, there are a few cons, and I should prepare you for those as well. The first con is, given that it is a new format, we do not know the type of question that can be, or we do not know that the division, how the division is going to be. But if you are preparing for worst case scenario, as you can see in this particular slide, that it can be either 6 passage of 5 questions or 5 passage of 6 questions, we are going to prepare for all kinds of scenario. We're going to hope for the best, but we're going to prepare for the worst. So I'm assuming that there will not be any type of question which will throw you off and you will think that, oh, I don't know how to approach this question. We will try to make sure that all of such questions are covered. Okay. So that's one con. Other than that, yes, rote learning is not there. That can be a pro, that can be a con also. It's a con for someone who have good memory. I should not really be mean to them either. The ones who can learn faster. So the exam was in favor for them. Now it might not be in favor for them so much. But being analytical is a sort of a skill which is not contradictory to being someone who is a rote learner. If you can memorize well, you can at the same time be analytical also. So all you need to do is just hone your certain skills, and we are here for that. We are available all the time. Loknath sir is available, Manoj sir is available, the other teachers are available. I am also going to be available. वैसे भी हमारे पास करने को है क्या इस कोरोना वायरस के लॉकडाउन में, right? So we are available all the time. You can ask us any type of question. So we will be answering that. Okay, Suparna, ma'am, suppose while active reading, I notice that I'm not being able to answer some questions correctly. What should I do to overcome that and improve myself? Ma'am, I'm reading AG Hog. Is it fine? Any reading is good. I'll come to your question, Suparna. Palak, any reading is good. Trust me, you can read any writer. Just do not read Twilight and, um, those books, because they're not going to help you much. I understand they're nice to read and they're entertaining and everything, but don't read such books. As long as the content is good and it's more analytical, as in it makes you think. By analytical, I mean that anything that makes you think, uh, not the pop fiction kind of this thing. Dale Carnegie, yes, all of them are good. They're rather good. Let's not put the name of all the writers over here. I'll give you the list. You read those along with the ones that you are reading. I can also tell you that I'm reading Stephen Hawking. Okay, I even have the book here with me. So stop showing off, you all, that I'm reading this, I'm reading that. What else are you supposed to do in this time? Read. Read whatever you want. Even if you want to read Twilight, you read. But you think of it. What is it? Can we try come on subject at the earliest? Uh, yeah, sure. We will come to the subject. But anyway, coming to Suparna's question, which was while active reading, I noticed that I'm not being able to answer some questions correctly. What should I do? Overcome that and improve it. We have that in a particular slide, so you will be able to see what exactly we mean. I guess we are short of time, so let's come to the particular subject over here. Now, this is the lecture outline. If we are able to finish the entire PPT today, we will try to finish the PPT today. If we are not, we will continue it in the next class. Okay. Yeah. So coming to what Suparna said, that what exactly active reading mean. Let's first understand what active reading means and what I am trying to focus on here. Basically, when you are reading passively, you are not reading without any questions in your head. You are not reading for implications. You're not reading for trying to understand the meaning between the lines. What we say, read between the lines. We are not trying to do that. We have our time. We are reading our book and we are just reading it for fun, and that's a more of a relaxed reading. But for this particular purpose, try to make sure that you read actively. What does active reading mean? It means reading with a particular purpose in mind would be to be able to analyze it, comprehend it as much as possible, so that when any type of question is asked from that particular passage, we will be able to answer. Okay, we read actively to find some information, okay, to explore the author's viewpoint, analyze a particular issue. Okay, that's what we mean by active reading. So coming to what Suparna has asked, that don't mind if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. I do not know, it's Choparna or I think it's Choparna. So Choparna, what you ask is that if I'm not able to answer the question, answering the question will come easily to you if you have already read actively. Okay. And when you are doing it in the examination, or when you will be doing here also, you will understand that if you have an understanding of the passage completely, you will be able to answer the questions. If at any point of time in the examination you feel that okay fine, this I am not able to get, then what you can do is at that point of time you can leave that particular question and move on, because it happens that the answer is right there and we are not able to find it. Okay, so ideally at that point of time, without wasting your time, you move on to the next question. When you will move on to the next question, and when you will be reading the passage again for the next question, you will find that oh, the answer was right there. It happens often with us, but just not panic. Reading comprehension is something which is panic inducing. It for some reason makes student panic quite a lot, because you're reading for a very long time and then you read the questions and you feel that oh, I'm wasting my time. But if you stipulate your time to per passage 5 to 7 minutes, about 3.5 minutes to reading the passage and understanding the passage, and the rest to reading the question and answering, you will not have that much of a problem. Okay. And if you are having issues, we will be discussing, we will be doing passages together. So I'll see where you are getting stuck. Okay. So as I said, reading with a particular purpose, to find information, to explore the author's viewpoint, to have analysis, give a particular analysis of the particular passage. Okay. Now, active reading also includes asking questions. Okay, asking questions for details. Okay, then reading between the lines, things which are unspoken. For example, we often say, "What are you trying to insinuate?" Okay. So what does that mean? It basically means that you are saying something, but there is an underlying meaning of it, right? So that's what we need to look at. That's what we also need to focus when we are reading the passage. That's what reading actively means. And if you are reading actively, you will not have a problem answering the question, because you will have the answers in your head. Okay. Stick to the text. The thumb rule of any reading comprehension is that unless and until something is directly or indirectly stated in the passage, it cannot be the answer. Okay. So ruling out options is also very, very important when you're doing your questions for reading comprehension, because often what happens, because of one particular word, because of one particular idiom, the meaning of that particular option is not the same as what is there in the passage. So something which is not directly or indirectly stated in the passage can never be the answer. Okay. As it says here, stick to text, point to the passage or lines to support the answer. So whatever you mark as your answer has to have a evidentiary support from the passage. Okay. It needs to have some kind of a line which is saying exactly what you have marked. Or even if it is an implication kind of a question where it is being, certain things are implied, there needs to be hints that it is implying that. Okay. Chalo, let's move on. No outside knowledge. This is very, very important. Often what happens that when you're doing reading comprehension, students tend to think that, oh, I know about this topic, I know a lot about this topic, so this fact is not correct, or this is contradictory to what I know, or to what the physical concept of this is, the theory of this is. What you really need to keep in mind is that reading comprehension, even if in the reading comprehension it says that the sun rises in the west, that's what you need to mark, because that's what reading comprehension is. Reading comprehension uses your analysis to analyze the passage. You are nowhere giving your opinion, you are nowhere giving your personal take on it. So try not to let your bias, the information you already know, impact your reading comprehension. Okay. Should we move on to the next slide, or any question here till here? Mm, yes, Khushi, you've written ma'am. So is it yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am? Uh, Okay, I'm assuming that there are no questions. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay, now there are certain categories of questions that are going to be asked. Identify the idiom. They're not going to ask you to identify the idioms. Idiom questions are not going to come, because comprehensions are written in a way that you Nobody uses that many idioms. When you also read editorials, or when you read any non-fiction novel also, not only have to be fiction. Fiction, the idioms people in general do not use, but non-fiction also, when you read any particular book, or if you read editorials or news paper or journals, people do not use idiom that often. We in our day-to-day conversation don't use it that much. And even if they're going to use, they're going to use very simple ones, and there will be no point asking questions from there. Okay. Yeah, so let's move on to the type of questions that are there. By CR, I mean over here critical reading. Okay, it's not just any reading. Uh, should we start doing passage by reading the questions first? Is it the right way to do? See, in reading comprehension, there is no right or wrong way to start the passage. If someone is attuned to reading the passage first, say for example, in my case, my reading speed is quite fast, of course, because my subject is English and I also read quite a bit. So I read quite fast and I analyze it quite fast. So I always go with reading passage first. But not everyone has the same capacity. So first you need to read questions, see the questions you can do without reading the entire passage. Okay, then you can go back, read the passage in detail, and do the rest of the questions. That also you can do. There are many ways, we will come to that, but as you asked Bhavna, there is no right or wrong method. There only needs to be, your only approach should be which is the faster and more proven and tested method for me, that this method works for me best. Okay. Yeah, so there are three larger categories of questions that are there. Okay. Okay, sorry. Hmm. Yeah, there are three larger categories of questions that are asked. Within them, there are many types of questions. We are going to deal with that as well. But today I'm only going to give you the broad outline. So the first one is information and ideas. So the questions from this particular category will the answers will be given in the passage itself. Okay. That basically it means that you have to read the passage, find the information or a particular idea, and you have to answer the question. Then there are rhetorical questions. Now, rhetorical questions ask you the meaning of certain words used by the author, certain expressions used by the author, if the author is using simile or the author is using metaphor or things like that. Again, do not panic. I will be giving you a list of tone of the author. I will be giving you a list of the attitude of the author, the kind of questions that can be there from rhetoric. And also I will be giving you a list of the kind of rhetorical devices that an author can use. Similes, metaphor, alliterations, or things like that. Okay, I will be giving that. So don't panic. So you will be aware of those things as well. Then the third type of question is synthesis. Okay, this is a little tricky. Synthesis basically means is when 2 3 types of informations are given to you in a particular passage, they will ask you to find one option. The question will be in a way that they will ask you in one particular question where they'll ask you to somehow synthesize it to make it a whole. It sounds a little complicated, it isn't like that. Just going a little off topic to make you understand what I mean by synthesis. um, you all play jigsaw puzzle, right? I'm assuming you all are aware of it. Yeah. Okay. So puzzle is basically, what is it? It is the parts of one big whole. By whole, I don't mean HOLE whole. I mean WHOLE whole. The big whole. Okay. So when two pieces just merge with each other seamlessly, that's what we call a synthesis. Okay. Individually also they have their own merit, but together they make a complete whole. That's what synthesis question is. Basically, multiple information is given to you. It will ask you to somehow synthesize it. Summary questions also come in under synthesis at times. Okay. When you will be doing those questions, I have more slides to come. When you will be doing those questions, you will be finding it that it's not that difficult. For example, um, they might ask you that uh, what is the bearing, what is the impact of the first paragraph on the second paragraph of the passage. Okay, so it's first para, second para on its own also has its merit, has its own points. But what is the bearance of the first one on the second one? That is what synthesis questions basically ask you to do. It asks you to understand the impact of something on the other within the passage. Okay, is it clear, Palak? Okay, chalo, let's move on. Now, it is highly important to know what kind of knowledge and skills are required for these types of questions. I have written it over there, but don't worry, I will be giving you the list as I said, so you will not have that much of a problem. So don't panic. I'm saying it again and again. The last thing you want to do right now is panic. Panicking is not healthy also. We are cooped up in our homes. It's very difficult times we are going through. So do not panic. Everything you need, we will water it down. We will make it easier for you to understand. You just have to ask, and you have to be more active in your approach rather than just expecting things. You also need to be active. You need to make sure that you're reading what is being given to you. Okay, now let's in detail discuss what is information and idea question. Information an idea question basically mean what is the author's viewpoint. See, any particular passage when you have, there is going to be one main idea, okay, and one scope. Now say I showed you the theory of everything that I'm reading, right? So if you consider that as a entire passage, if you're not aware of it, it's mostly about Big Bang theory and it's mostly about black holes. Okay, so if you think of it, the entire passage is about black holes or the Big Bang theory. Let's say Big Bang theory. Okay, so that is going to be the main idea, the author's main idea. There are 10,000 crores and crores and millions of ideas out there. From there, the author has picked up the idea of Big Bang and the author is going to write about it. Now, what do I mean by scope? Scope basically means is what about Big Bang theory the author is trying to talk about. Okay, these two things you really need to understand. First, the main idea. It will not be that difficult to understand. It will you when you will read, you will understand that it's quite evident. Main idea is always very evident. The second is scope of the passage. Scope of the passage basically means is what about Big Bang theory the author is going to talk about. Big Bang theory is a huge theory. It's infinitely huge theory, just like the Big Bang. It's very, very difficult to cover in one particular passage or even in one particular book or even in a series of books. So the author must certainly choose a particular very small part of Big Bang theory that the author wants to talk about and the author wants the readers to know. Okay, so the main idea, the scope, and the purpose of the author. What the author is trying to say to us. Okay, fine. Big Bang theory is my main idea. Okay, black holes and their relation to Big Bang theory is the scope, what the author is trying to say over here. But why is the author talking about it? There must be some idea that the author is trying to give to us. Either the author is trying to clarify it for us, or the author is trying to give us new information about it, or the author is trying to compare and contrast between the earlier ideas that were already there, or the author is comparing and contrast with his own theory that he has brought out, that he has discovered. Okay, so that is the purpose of the author. These three things, while when you are reading the passage, if you ask yourself and if you come to it correctly, there cannot be a single question that you will not be able to answer. And you can take it to the bank when I say that. When these three things are aware, you are aware of it, whether it is inference question, whether it is the purpose of the author question, whether it is the summary of the question, whether it is any line reference questions, you will be able to answer those because you already know why the author is writing. You know that I am taking a class, right? The purpose of ma'am coming here is to take a class and to tell us about English reading. So whatever will come out of my mouth, you will be able to relate to it. English class, English class. Anything she's saying is to clarify our doubts, to clear our doubts. So if someone asks you that what is the significance of this video class, will you not be able to answer? If someone asks you that what is the inference that you drew from the lecture, will you not be able to answer? Because everything will come back to why the ma'am is taking the class. Is it clear? I'm assuming it's clear. Let's move on. So what it says over here, these type of questions ask you to think carefully, about the author's message. To interpret the message, you have to consider both what's being implied and what is not being what is directly given and what is implied in the passage. Okay, so implied will always be things which I am not directly stating. Okay, which the author is not directly stating but is hinting at. Implication points are never basically what it it never means that it's not there, it's non-existent in the passage. No, it is there in the passage, but it is hinted at. For example, if I say to you, mm, wouldn't it be good if you read it twice? So I am trying to imply something, but I am not directly saying it. But from the words that came out of my mouth, you could understand that I am trying to hint at something. That maybe reading it twice is very important, right? So that's exactly how the author is going to write. ऐसा नहीं है कि the author will not write in the passage at all. The author will write. There will be some implication, but the words will be carefully used in a way. They will not directly state, okay, Big Bang happened 10,000 millions ago, years ago. It will try to say that it may have been a possibility. So when it say it may have been a possibility, the author is trying to imply that it might be one of the possibilities. As simple as that. Okay. Now the specific sort of questions that make up the information are here. Let's see them. Where are they? Any doubt from this particular slide? Oh, acha, someone has written yeah on the screen. Okay, they're writing yeah and then they're rubbing it off, thinking that that's going to rub it off. Sweet. Anyway, let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. So the question in the category of 6 main types in the information and the ideas type. The first is reading closely. What is that particular question like? It's basically determining what is stated and what is not stated in the passage. Okay. So determining what is stated or implied in a passage and applying what you have learned from it in a new or similar situation. So basically, say Big Bang theory is being discussed. Given that I have already given example of Big Bang theory, I'm going to continue it. Big Bang theory is the topic of the passage. Big Bang theory and black holes is the scope. The author is trying to give us his theory, his particular idea about that scope. Okay. Let's say that's the passage. So what does reading closely type of question mean? Where all you need to do is you need to read the passage, you need to find the answer, and you need to write it. Okay. Now there are two types. One, where you have to read the entire passage to understand it and then you answer. And the second, where the information is only asked from 2-3 lines or say 5-6 lines. Okay. In such a scenario, what you need to do is you need to read the question first, as I said. If you are one of those students who do not find it comfortable to read the question first and not read the passage first, then you can skim through it, quickly skim through it, like in a few seconds, quickly skim through it. Get your okay, my screen sharing is not working anymore. Give me a minute.
Ma'am, kindly share your screen once.
Yes, I'm trying to do that. Hold on a minute. Yes, is it available? It's on screen now. Hello.
Yeah, it is available. It is available, ma'am.
Yeah. So should I continue?
Yeah, ma'am. Continue, please.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So as I was saying that for this particular type of question, information is given. Now, as I said, there are two types where they might ask you a question which will require you the knowledge of the entire passage. So you read the question first. You of course read leave such a question for the last. You read, if you at all come across a question where they are asking an information based question, but it only needs you to read say from line 5 to 10. Quickly do that. Read 5 to 10. And if possible, read say 5 lines before that and 2-3 lines after that to get the entire context, so that at no point of time you overlook an information. But make sure that certain questions which only need information like the year or what happened first or what came later, for such questions you quickly read the given lines where the answer is given, and you answer. Okay. The second type of question is citing textual evidence. Now the sample that was given to us, in which from which we are going to do it, this particular question was not available, but this is a question which is very common in reading comprehensions in general. Okay. And given that they have written that the usual reading comprehension questions will come, I have included that also in my PPT. We will also prepare for this type of question as well. What it basically means is, say you have answered option A for question number 1. Okay. So question number 2 will ask you that give evidence for the answer you have just marked. Okay. So say the first particular question was that who introduced the concept of Big Bang Theory. Fine. Okay. So you have written option A, Stephen Hawking. The question number 2 is uh, from where you get the evidence, state the line number. Okay. So for that, you have to read where the evidence is given, from where you found the answer. Okay. They are basically sort of line number questions where you have to give the line where the evidence is given. It might or might not be there in the examination, but they are very easy questions. They're not very difficult. Easy only if your first question you have marked correctly. If you have not marked it correctly, you will have a hard time finding evidence for it, which will again help you, because if you're not finding the evidence, that means the first question that you have written is wrong. Okay. Logic, analysis, that's how it is. Clear? Is it clear? Citing textual evidence? No, we do not know. Adrika, we do not know if it is going to be available or not. If at all it is going to be like that, so you will have to either write the line number, or you will have to mark the line number, or you don't have to write anything. It's an MCQ paper. There will never be any writing component there for you. No, they are not going to ask grammar. At least not directly. They are not going to ask you grammar question, Khushi. But one thing I will say, certainly I will say, what happened to my English? One thing I will certainly say is that the understanding of grammar in general is very, very important, you know, because if you are not able to understand sentences and the meaning and what they imply, which is a very big part of grammar, then you will not be able to understand the passage. See, they have given you comprehension. Why they have given you comprehension? Assuming that your grammar is good, assuming that you will be able to read the passage without having a difficulty. But if you think that you're not so sure about your reading capacity or reading capabilities, because your grammar might not be that pukta or strong, then you need to work a little bit of grammar also, which we will also do. So don't worry, we will brush up our grammar as and when required. So don't take pressure for that. But evidence based reading you understood, right? Okay. So next is determining central idea or theme of the passage. Okay. So again, what types of theme there can be? How many page I should read each day for fast reading? Kushi, it's not just about fast reading. It's about fast reading as well as being able to understand. Ideally, you should be able to read a 450 words ka passage in about 2.5 to 3 minutes time, including the time that you need to understand the passage. By reading, I don't mean that I take the book and I go blah 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 blah. So I can read very very fast. I also need to understand it well, na, because if I read very fast, then whatever little reading you will be doing is just to confirm your answer. Confirm once. So you will read certain parts, but that's about it. You will not be able to read multiple times. So the idea is that when you get 5 to 7 minutes per passage, depending on the length, you should be able to read the passage of 450 words length within 2.5 to 3 minutes time, along with understanding it well. Okay, understanding its structure, understanding the main idea, scope, and purpose, as I said. Okay. Now determining central idea and theme of the passage. Central idea, as I said, main idea, the scope and purpose ka combination. So if I have to say what exactly is the central idea of the passage, the central, assuming that Big Bang Theory wala only example we're going to continue. The central idea of the passage is the author is trying to give us a new theory regarding or vis-a-vis the interaction of Big Bang theory along with black holes. Okay, so that is the central idea. Why is it the central idea? Because it does not only focus on one idea, it focuses on the overall. um, uh, it's basically, central idea would be basically like an umbrella. Okay, it will cover everything, like a big umbrella. I mean, not the small ones which does not cover your bag or anything, like a big umbrella which basically will cover the main idea. It will cover the scope. It will also give a hint of why the author is trying to write something. Okay, any doubt till here? Should we move on to the next slide? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Yeah, the fourth type of question from the same category, that is information and idea question, is summarizing. So it's more or less like central idea. It's recognizing an effective summary. So you look at the passage, you look at the options, and you choose which is the best one summarizing it. Okay, always remember, when they are making the exam easy for you by taking away a lot of parts which earlier students did not like, do not think that the passages are going to be very easy. Also, the sample that they have given, I have noticed that they are slightly on the easier side, but take it from me, the actual examination will not be that easy, because at the end of the day, this is not an examination for selection, it is an examination for elimination. There is a limited number of seats. Not everyone can pass, not everyone all universities. So their idea would be to make it difficult. Also, given that it is the first time, they will be a little experimental. So they might also throw you a few of the curveballs. So don't expect that the options, certainly do not expect the options to be very easy. That out of 4 options, 3 will be randomly wrong options and 1 will be correct option. That will not be there. Okay. Chalo. So summarizing question will be there. Understanding relationship, the relationship between two ideas, or the relationship between cause and effect, the sequence of how things happen. That's basically what the type of question will ask you. That what was the effect of X, Y, Z? What was the cause for X, Y, Z? Okay, what was the next step of ABC? Things like this, where you need to understand either the sequence or the comparison contrast or the cause and effect relationship given in the passage. Okay, then interpreting words and phrases in context. As I said, vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, all these are gone, but vocabulary is not gone completely. And in fact, it has become more context based. That means, if you think that you know a meaning of a particular word, you still have to use it in the passage and see if the meaning tallies with the passage or not. Okay, so that's what words and phrases in context mean. As I have given earlier the example of smart, you can take any other example. For example, precipitate. Any one of you are aware of the word precipitate? What does it mean? Don't Google an answer, by the way. Just because we're doing everything on internet. Anyone who knows what precipitate mean? Accumulation, rain. Yeah. So it can, in chemical term, it is accumulation also. Very good channel. Very good, Prantika. Others also very good. I'm assuming that you all are trying. But if you Google it, or if you see the meaning of precipitation, you will find that there are multiple meanings given of it. Okay. But if I use precipitate in this particular sentence, that the lockdown precipitated the fall of the economy. What would I mean? I certainly do not mean accumulation of economy, because logically also it does not make sense. I certainly do not mean rain. Does not mean resulted. Precipitation means hastens. Hasten. Hastens. Yes. Tapan, not exactly increased, but hastened it. Hurried the process of it. Made it faster. So there can be multiple meaning. If you are going to Google it, you'll find multiple meanings of precipitation. But the usage in the sentence is hastened the process. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say, that now it's not just the meaning. You might know the meaning of the word, I might know the meaning of many words, but it's the usage of the meaning in particular, the usage of the word in that particular sentence, that is required. So again, more analysis, more logic based. Okay, not memory based. But yes, memory is a component. You need to know the meaning of precipitation in order to use it. If you do not know the meaning, you will not be able to use it. That much is true. Fine. Let's move on to the next category of question. That's then is next type of question. Yeah. What we can do today, you first tell me which will be a good idea, is after this, each question that is there, like reading closely, summary, and everything, they're all in detail given. Okay. So you want me to discuss this in detail, or you want us to do a little bit of practice and then come back to them? Which one would you prefer? Because there is still two more categories left. One is rhetoric and synthesis. A little bit of practice. Okay, chalo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the slide to the last part where one very small passage is given and I want to see how you do it. Okay, chalo. Everyone is very eager to do practice. So let's move on. Let's move on to the uh, last slide if possible. I'm going to share the screen soon. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, can you all see this? Are you all able to see this? Where does the chat thing go every time? Okay. Just give me a minute. Where are the chats? Meanwhile, you all read the passage. Okay, I'm trying to figure things out here. You kindly read the passage. This should not take you more than like a half a minute or so. Okay, so I'm going to ask you questions from this particular passage. Okay, from iPhone to everyone. Okay. Are you all done? Okay. So if I ask you, I'm assuming that others are also done. If I ask you what is the main idea of the passage, what will you say is the main idea of the passage? Art of forgery. Yeah. Skills in it. Yeah. Forgery, skills in it. Very easy. Very easy, right? Main idea is um, very easy. Forgery. What you have written, Gia, uh, is the scope of the passage. That is very good. That you could understand it. It's a peculiar curse. Yeah. The main idea of the passage conveys that the art of forgery is mainly based on fooling and creating a fake existence. Very good. Yeah, तुम लोग तो बड़े smart हो. Very good. You are not going to have a problem in the examination, at least I'm assuming. Don't get too cocky also. You know, this entire thing uh, feels very spooky because I need like to have some eye contact, and I'm having eye contact with myself continuously, looking at myself, and it's kind of spooky. Anyway, let's come back to the passage. Art forgery is a peculiar curse. Okay. Now, this can be considered as a main idea, art forgery. And what is the scope? Is a peculiar curse. So the author is going to talk about art forgery, main idea, and why. What the author is going to talk about is because it is a peculiar curse. That's what the focus of the author here is. Admiring oneself can also be spooky. Don't know what it means, but anyway. Let's come back to the passage. Art forgery is a peculiar curse. Art forgery is the main idea, and it being a peculiar curse is what the author is trying to discuss further. Reliant on camouflage and deception on the rhetoric of the believable lie, it is an act both audacious and self-effacing. For the imitation to succeed in fooling us, it must resemble one or more works that we have been led to believe are undoctored originals. Without something to mimic, the fake could not exist, and the forger of old masters' drawings, like the forger of $20 bills or United States passports, must be skilled enough to fool eyes that by now are practiced in uncovering deceit. Okay, so now answering the question to someone, I think someone had earlier asked that how do we actively read? So this is basically what active reading is. When you are reading, you just ask yourself 2-3 questions like main idea, scope, try to guess why the author is writing, and as and when question will come, you will try to answer it. Okay, now let's look at the question that is there from this particular passage. So the question is this: the primary purpose of the passage is to answer this particular question. Again, the chat section is gone. I am just for a minute going to go out of the slide mode. Okay, I'm just going to show you the individual slide because it will be easier for me to read the chat. I'm not able to read the chat. If even you all are answering, I am not able to read it. You all can still see this thing, right? Yeah, you all are still able to. Um, yeah, the primary purpose of the passage is someone had written E illustrate the public's ignorance about art forgery. Um, so let's start from the bottom up. E cannot be the answer because nowhere in the passage it says that illustrate the public's ignorance about art forgery. Illustrate basically means is that you give example to illustrate something. You make it easier for people to understand. There are no example given about people's ignorance. Yes, two examples are given over here of $20 bill and of United States passport, but nowhere it says that people are not aware of their forgery. What it basically says that the ones who are forging US passports and $20 bills must be extremely good at forgery. Then only they will be able to deceive people. So nowhere it is illustrating public's ignorance about art forgery. Okay. Then if someone has marked D, catalog the skills of a successful art forger. So there is no particular art forger whose skills are being discussed or cataloged over here. So again, D cannot be the answer. We are discussing art forgery in general. We are not discussing any particular art forger. Okay. Then discuss the challenges facing art forgery. This seems like an answer. This seems it could be, but we are not gonna full and finalize and say that okay, C is the answer. We are going to keep it as an option because it is certainly discussing how it is a peculiar curse and the explanation for it. B, indicate the artistic merit of particular forgeries. Again, the artistic merit of these particular forgeries are not being discussed, that oh, how $20 bills has similar, exact similar color as the original, or the passport is so unrecognizable. Those things are not discussed in the passage. Describe the motivation of art forgers. Why they do art forgery is nowhere mentioned here. So the answer is not A, B, D, or E. The answer is C. Okay. The explanation is also given over there if you would like to read it. Now, I could just see your chat. iPhone wrote B, Anandita wrote B, C, Arijit wrote C, Anushka, D, everyone wrote D. What does the last line mean, ma'am? Uh, okay. Um, the last line. Okay. I'll tell you what the last line means. It basically means, and the forger of old masters' drawings, like the forger of $20 bills or US passports, must be skilled enough to fool eyes that by now are appreciated at are practiced at uncovering deceit. What it basically means that someone who is forging those, who is doing the forgery of passport or dollar bills. Now, dollar bills is something you use on a daily basis, and passport also is something that people use quite frequently. So, if you are going to forge it, if you're going to make a forgery of it, you need to be very, very skilled at it. Then only you will be able to deceive someone who is used to seeing it every day, right? If I am looking at my 10 rupee note every day, and given that I use it so much, will I not be able to understand if there's a fake? I'm only going to get deceived when the 10 rupee note is extremely, extremely similar to the original. So the one who's doing the forgery must have very keen and skillful eyes. That's what it says, must be skilled enough to fool eyes that by now are practiced at uncovering deceit. Okay. This much is clear. Okay, let's move on to the next particular question from the same passage. What is the answer to this? The author refers to art forgery as an act that is self-effacing in line 3 because it requires that the forger I'm giving you like 20 seconds. After that, I'm going to see the answers. Okay, just give me 1 second. I need to stop sharing to check. You all have all of you all have written E, D, B, A, E, B, E. सारे ऑप्शन लिख रहे हो. सही बात है. Okay, Khushi has written a question. Ma'am, I'm not able to understand the meaning of the passage in one run. I mean, I can read, but not understand at once. I have to roll my eyes again and again. Okay, I'll tell you how to go about it. Okay. Let's come back to this. And Khushi, I think Khushi asked me that question. I'll come to your question again. Many of you all have written regard original artworks with reverence. Again, word in context here, the ones who have written E, I must tell you that you do not know the meaning of self-effacing. देखो vocabulary नहीं आएगा fine, but vocabulary ऐसा भी नहीं है कि आएगा ही नहीं. Okay, so you need to be aware of the meaning of the words in general and very common one. Self-effacing is a very common word in general. Okay, so when the author says over here that just okay, the slide for some reason is not working. I hope it's being shared. So let's discuss. Reliant on camouflage and on deception on the rhetoric of the believable lie, it is an act both audacious and self-effacing. So it's not only very brave, but it is also self-effacing. Self-effacing का मतलब होता है to efface your name, to rub off your own name. Okay, because what does it say? For the imitation to succeed in fooling us, it must resemble one or more works that we have been led to believe are undoctored original. Okay, now what does that mean? If for example I am making a forgery of Mona Lisa, okay, and everyone knows Mona Lisa is an original. Now when I am making a forgery of it and it is so similar to the original, I must be a very good artist also. Then only I am being able to copy it that well. But still, I will not be famous for my own work. I will not be famous for my own art. I will still be a forger who will be forging someone else's artwork. So in art forgeries field, you are never known for your own name. You are always known for someone else's name. That is why it is a self-effacing act. And the author has given us a hint of the meaning of this word in the very first sentence, which also happens to be a topical sentence. Topical sentence basically means a sentence which starts, a sentence which gives us the meaning of the entire passage and the purpose of the passage. Okay, so it is a peculiar curse. Why is it a curse? Because not only it's very brave, but it is also very self-effacing. You will never be famous for your own work, even though you're so good that you are forging Mona Lisa or passport or things like that. Okay, so the author refers to art forgery as an act that is self-effacing because it requires that the forger undergo an arduous apprenticeship. No, nowhere mentioned that you have to work an artist. Yes, art, even though you're so good that you can make something similar, but still you will never be famous for yourself. Forego many opportunities for financial gain. Nowhere mentioned that you have to forego your opportunities for financial gain. Never take his or her work too seriously. It is too out of scope. Nowhere mentioned. And regard original artworks with reverence. It might be true, but it is not true to the passage. Passage nowhere says something like this. Hence, the answer will be option B. Work in the style of another artist and never be known for your own work. So here, when I'm saying work in the style of another artist, what I'm trying to imply is that the author, the forger will never be famous for his own skills. Even though he's very skillful, he is deceiving people who are used to seeing such stuff on a daily basis, but still they are being deceived. He's so good that he's copying things which are a household item and people are not able to find. But still, he will never be known for his own artwork. He will never be known for his own skills and capabilities. That's why it is self-effacing. Okay. Now, I'll stop sharing for a while and see what you all have to say. Um, okay. Any doubt here? Anybody? You all understood it or you did not understand? I am online, right? Hmm. So now you understood what I mean word in context. It's not just taking up the word and knowing its meaning individually. It is in the context of the passage. Ma'am, there's my question up. What is your question, Khushi Singh? Yeah, you're not able, Khushi, you asked that you're not able to finish the entire thing at one go. So see, when you're not able to finish the entire thing at one go, what you can do is try to just read the thing once. जितना समझ में आता है, जो चीज certainly आपको समझनी है, that is the topic sentence, as I said, the first sentence of each passage, which will give you an idea of the entire paragraph. Every paragraph will have to have one particular topic sentence. Okay. We start the passage with topic sentence. That's how we even talk. Okay. So every topic sentence वो आप कम से कम समझ लो, and जो last sentence है आप उसको समझने की कोशिश करो. When you will go to the question and you will see what is being asked, you will anyway redirect yourself to the passage and the section. At that point of time, you try to analyze it much better. But the second time when you're doing it, that time you have to make sure that you are faster. Okay. So don't worry if you're not able to understand the entire thing at one go, because often it's not possible. Often it's not even possible for me. Okay. Any other question does anyone have? Ma'am, I will read the question. Absolutely. You read the question first, you read the passage. That's what I said in the beginning. We will, today what we are doing is we just discuss a little bit of question format and we did very small passage. Okay. But actually we will be doing the detailed ones aise aise karke. We will do it gradually. And there the first thing I will tell you is to read question and make sure that you, out of say if a particular passage has 4 questions, there will certainly be one question which you can answer without reading the entire passage. So at that point of time, you always read the question first. You answer the questions for which you do not have to read the entire passage. You just have to read like 3 lines before that, 3-4 lines after that. Once you are done with such questions, then you read the entire, yes, then you read the entire passage, because then you don't have an option. The questions will be detailed. So that you have to read the passage, but always try to do the few questions which you can do without reading the passage. So you will be faster. And for those who cannot do the questions without reading the passage, I said earlier also, I'm going to say it again, you skim it very fast. Skimming means going through it very fast without stopping at details and trying to bother yourself with details. Understood? Yes, Arijit, like unseen. You do not know. It is unseen. It's not seen. You don't know from where it will come. One more thing, students, you all were asking what all should be your ideal books. Even though I'm going to give you the list, make sure that you focus on classics. Okay, classics are very important. Classical books. By classical, I mean the ones which were like written, say about 20-30 years back types. वैसे भी पढ़ सकते हो. And recent में you can read like Amitava Ghosh and the ones who are very recent, Arvind Adiga and ones like them. Okay, I'll give you a list. Don't worry. Don't take chap. I will give you a list of all the things that are required, but gradually. Okay. Read about Peaky Blinders. It is amazing. Tell any book name. Can tell any. Ma'am can tell any book name. You can start by reading Sea of Poppies. That's a good book. Ma'am, books of Sudha Murthy. Yeah, very good. You can start with them. Why I'm saying Indian writers is because all the samples that I saw, they were giving Indian content. The content was Indian. I will also make sure that the list that you're going to get, I'll mail it to Loknath sir by tonight, and he will probably mail to you all whichever way he can. Okay. Oscar Wilde, I would not recommend much. Shreyasi, you all have any doubt? Then we can, finish the class for today, and you all can go and relax a bit. I'm assuming you don't have any doubt. And also the PDF of the class, once we are done with the entire PPT, that's when I will ask sir to mail it to you. I will mail it to him. He will mail it to all of you. Okay. Okay. No doubts, ma'am. No, ma'am. Okay. Then should I leave the class? Okay. So I'm gonna leave it. Okay. If you have, if even after the class, if you have any doubt or something, you just let us know. Okay. Bye, guys. Take care. Chill. Calm down. Don't panic. Last thing you want is to be panicked. Okay. Chalo. Bye. Take care.